But
No.
I think there were some questions because of the whole right tackle thing. Even Kenneth John chiming in here saying, I think A is too high for Latham till he proves his left tackle chops at this high level. Hasn't played it since high school, would go B+. Which brings us to our next fake question. Can Latham play left tackle like the Titans want him to? And if he can't, is it a failure if he ends up playing right tackle?
This is top of my list of pet peeves this draft cycle. And I've been preaching this for a long time. Kenneth, guys like Kenneth know this, that I'm about to say this, but he's welcomed his opinion. If you are of the opinion that in 2024, the left tackle position is significantly more important than the right tackle position, you are mistaken. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. That's just the reality of the modern NFL. In terms of value, in terms of compensation, the top right and left tackles in the modern NFL are paid essentially the exact same. And in terms of the people they are going up against on the defensive side of the ball, you could argue that right tackles actually have it worse. All, and I mean all, of the top edge rushers in the NFL right now, the top 5 guys, you could like think of, okay, it's the Bosa brothers, it's Max Crosby, it's Myles Garrett, it's TJ Watt. Where do those guys play? You look it up. Oh, they all line up against the right tackle. Why is that? Because there's an ebb and a flow. There's a pendulum swinging back and forth in all things. But in the NFL, as offenses do one thing, defenses slowly learn to counter that thing. And then offenses have to counter, and it's back and forth, right? There's this ebb and flow of philosophy and strategic approach to the game. And as for a long time, the top tackle on most teams was put on the left side because a lot of the best rushers in the league went on the left side. And also, more fundamentally, as most quarterbacks are right-handed, that's the blind side, and you can get after the quarterback without them seeing you coming. That's where the better tackles were placed in the NFL. And then over time, some of these new era guys come into the league and they say, hey, I don't necessarily care if the quarterback sees me coming. Let me just go up against the worst player on the end. And let me find we're playing this team this week. Let's scout who's the worst tackle. And invariably, it was the right tackle because teams were putting the best guy on the left side. And so the Nick Bosa's of the world, the Myles Garrett's of the world, is saying, I don't care if he sees me coming. In fact, I'm happy to strike fear into his eyes. Let me face the worst tackle, burn him all game, and we will net more as a defense by me doing that. And that's the way that it works right now. A lot of teams, you think about the best lines in the league. The Eagles, okay, the Lions, okay, those, let's just say those two. Where's the best player play on the offensive line? They're both right tackles. Think about the Chargers, right? Okay, Rashawn Slater, great young tackle. Where's he play? Oh, he plays on the right side as well. And he played left in college. They moved him to right. They didn't have to do that, but they did. There's nothing wrong with having your best tackle play right tackle. And in fact, the more important thing that, the forest that you are missing for this tree that, you have to have left tackle because your brain is stuck in the past. I'm sorry to say, but it is. You're missing the point that the Titans don't have either. This would be a more informed discussion if it's like the Titans had, they had an average right tackle and they really have a big hole at left tackle. No, my friend, they don't have anything. They don't have a right tackle or a left tackle that you want playing on Sundays. At least nobody that's proven right now. Maybe Bill Callahan works his magic and whips up NPF into a starting caliber NFL tackle. But right now, that he is not. Right, and we'll sing his praises when that happens. But I wouldn't exactly bank on that happening. And so what's more important than having a great left tackle in the NFL is having at least one good tackle. That's what you have to have. And that's the point the Titans are making with this pick. And that's the thinking they have with this decision, where, again, they've made it clear they're going to try him at left tackle. And he played that in high school. And he has the muscle memory from just 2 years ago of playing left tackle for 4 consecutive years in college or in high school. Their thinking is, hey, like, if we just have one good tackle, we can scheme around that. We talked about it all last year, JT. This idea that, hey, if the Titans just had one tackle on either side of the ball, you can send chip help with the tight end. You can line up in jumbo and shift that way. You can double to the weak side. You can send the running back in max protect and have him chip on the weak side. Like, you can work around that. But when you don't have any tackles, you are screwed. It's over. You can't do it. And so whether Latham ends up a year, 2 years from now being the Titans' longtime left tackle or longtime right tackle, what matters is that he's a good tackle. And while I'll submit that it's still Will Levis's blind side, maybe left tackle is 5-10% more important than right tackle. It is not a significant enough gap for you to consider him being a right tackle a failure. And I think folks that are leaning so heavily into, well, the Titans have guys on the roster that can play right tackle. They got MPF. They've got Dylan Radins who might can play there. Like they've got dudes. I think you're giving those guys too much credit for being, first of all, being right side only guys. Like if you're saying maybe MPF can play functional right tackle, well, I could counter, well, maybe he can play functional left tackle too. We don't know the answer to either of those questions. Those things are both as unknown as humanly possible. Hey, Dylan Radins, you know where he played in college? Left tackle. So actually, I could argue maybe if he's a functional tackle anywhere, maybe it's on the left side. My point being, you're leaning too heavily into the known guys that it's a lot of copium with these guys potentially being starting tackles for the Titans on the right side in your argument that Latham being a left tackle is the most important thing ever. One last thing before and then I'll quit ranting on this. Two last things. A lot of people pre-draft ragging on Latham, like, hey, you seen the weight on that guy. I'm not sure he's a great athlete, and I'm not sure he thinks he's a great athlete because he said out of all of his athletic testing drills pre-draft, he didn't do those at the combine, he didn't do them at his pro day. What's up? And a lot of people accused him, well, he's a bad athlete and he knows it because he didn't do them. Latham, at his introductory press conference with the Titans, said, I did not test the combine because I was dealing with a high ankle sprain that we found early in the draft process. Back at, I think it was January or something, shortly after their season ended and he started training for his pre-draft process. So all of those people that accused Latham of skipping the testing because he knew he was a poor mover were wrong. And that, of course, could have been prevented for those people that were wrong if they had just turned on the tape like we said to do. Because if you watched any of JC Latham pre-draft, you knew, and I actually watched him, play football, you knew he was a good mover. The athletic testing is a nice a confirmation of that. It's important to parse the specifics of this guy over this guy. If it just raise your thin margin, yes, sure, whatever. But you can't say he's a poor mover if you watched him. You just can't. You are telling me without telling me that you didn't watch the kid play, because he is a very good mover, especially for being 340 pounds. The last thing, and this is something that Mike Herndon pointed out. I saw him point it out first. When Bill Callahan arrived in Cleveland, his previous stop as the offensive line coach for the Browns, they were ranked 17th in the NFL in pass blocking and 29th in run blocking per PFF. He inherited one really good player in left guard Joel Bitonio and a decent center in JC Tretter. Right guard and both tackle positions were major holes for the Browns when he came in. They signed Jack Conklin from the Titans and drafted Alabama's right tackle, ring a bell, in the top 10, ring a bell, and flipped him, ring a bell, to left tackle. They ranked first in both categories in Callahan's first year and have been a top 3 offensive line unit in football for most of the last 4 years. Jedrick Wills, the player in question, who was Alabama's right tackle, drafted in the top 10, who moved from right to left in the NFL in his first year. He played pretty well from the jump, and Callahan coaxed a massive leap out of right guard Wyatt Teller, who had been acquired for a couple of day 3 picks the year before. Now, am I saying that's going to happen for the Titans? No, I'm not. Am I saying it's possible? Yeah, because we just saw this exact same guy do it. The blueprint here is shockingly similar. And so I just think this idea that he has to be a left tackle for it to work, or questioning whether he can be a left tackle or not, I think it's silly on both fronts. Okay, soapbox, I'm going to set it aside, stepping down.
That's really just is a great argument to say that really no matter how this shakes out, there's a very, very high chance that JC Latham at the next level works out in some capacity, whether it is at left tackle or it is at right tackle. It makes the devil advocate, argument, if you want to play that with these prospects, very, very hard to do, just with a lot of things that are already in place for him. I think the really only avenue that you can go with this is that what is that avenue that could lead to this not being a home run pick? Is it that the teams who saw him as more of an inside player as a guard were right, and that's what we see this entire time? Or is there really not an avenue to JC Latham not being a plus starter at the next level?
So it's a difficult answer. What's the devil's advocate argument for if this doesn't work out, here's why. But it should be, right? For really any first rounder and certainly any top 10 pick, if somebody asks you, like, how does this not work out as a top 10 pick? And the answer is easy. You messed up. You probably shouldn't have drafted. Like, Falcons fans are in
See,
part
Michael
mad
Penix,
because
yeah.
you can say, like, well, how does this pan out poorly in the future? You want that list alphabetically or in order of importance? Because they're like, it's easy to come by. With JC Latham, there's a reason why he was one of my blue chip, purple chip prospects in this class, a top 10 bona fide player. There's not a whole lot. Like, here's the argument. Okay, you can always go to injury. He's too injured, and you could point to at that size, he may, be in and out of the lineup. Maybe, but as we pointed out previously, he's not ever missed a game in high school or in college, ever. So I don't know when he's going to start. Maybe that's at the NFL level, but like, there's no reason to believe that's the case. Okay, maybe like you say, he's more an interior player than an outside player. That would be it. But even then, would it be? There are levels to failure, right? Because if in 3 years the Titans are still seeking tackles, but they have an incredible interior line buoyed by 2 incredibly young players at the guard positions, it's not the worst place to be. Now, yes, ultimately it will be a failure because you still need tackles, and that's the most important position on the line. But I think when the worst case is he's an incredible interior player and you have 2 incredible interior players, maybe 3, like that's not that's a lot better than he flames out and never plays. I just don't see that happening. So it's a difficult one to make. We have already pointed out that I think if he's a right tackle, that's not really a devil's advocate argument because I don't think it's a failure. So yeah, either he's injured often out of nowhere, or he's primarily an inside player, in which case there are worse outcomes.